Hello and welcome into a, let's not sugarcoat it, a meaningless Week 18 game for your Philadelphia Eagles. This is the PHLY Eagles pregame show. Jamie Lynch, Fran, Duffy, and we are presented by Bet365. Find out why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Use code PHLY365 at sign up. Get yourself $150 in bonus bets to tinker around with for maybe Week 18, maybe the playoffs. Whatever it is, what up to all the sickos out there? Fran, happy Week 18. Happy Mormon Missile game.
Happy preseason game 4. Yeah. Maybe the first preseason game of 2025, whichever way you look at it. But look, obviously not a lot of stakes here in this game, but still some interesting storylines to follow. Appreciate everybody that's watching along with us.
Love you sickos for being in here. Yes, we are going to talk to Zack Burman in about 5 minutes down at Lincoln Financial Field. But the story of the week has been, the decision to rest starters. And, going for an NFL record would be awesome. And then I watched the Ravens game last night, and Zay Flowers leaves with a sprained knee. And then you rewind to last year in Week 18, and A.J. Brown and Reed Blankenship, you end up losing for the playoffs. And you go, yeah, this is the right decision, but it would have been really cool to see some history.
Yeah, I mean, Jason Kelce said it on ESPN last night and said that, if one of those guys got hurt, people would be killing Nick Sirianni.
Sure, absolutely.
And I think that's not why you do it in terms of like protecting Nick Sirianni's reputation, but it's the prudent decision, and I think it is the right call here for the Eagles in this game. Saquon Barkley, he spoke on both ends of it here in this week during the lead up to the game, where yes, like he would have won. He woke up on Monday feeling a little bit more like he wanted to go for it, but also said on the other side of it that, hey, you know what? If A.J. Brown or if Lane Johnson, if one of those guys got hurt out there playing, trying to help me get that record, that would have weighed on him as well. And so I think everybody understands that they've got bigger goals in mind, and that's what they're gearing for with a week of rest, which, by the way, this team hasn't gotten since Week 5.
Yeah. And, we're going to be intently watching around the NFL today before we get into the nitty-gritty of today's game and Tanner McKee and some others. Basically, it comes down to the Commanders-Cowboys game. If the Commanders win that game, the Green Bay Packers will be coming to South Philadelphia next week. If they lose that game and the Packers beat the Bears, both kind of have bunny opponents this week. We'll see if the Bears are playing for pride and jobs and all that. But both theoretically should win. So in all likelihood, it looks like... Actually, the Cowboys have been battling, maybe not, but it does look like the Packers are the more likely team to come to South Philly next week.
Yeah, the Cowboys have been battling, but they're obviously without CeeDee Lamb, who they put on the shelf before the Eagles game last week. Chicago, they're reeling as well. So I think Dane Is had pointed out the fact that looking at gambling markets, it's basically a 76% chance that the Eagles will be facing the Green Bay Packers next week, which will be bring everything full circle, since that's how they started the season in Week 1.
Yeah, that feels like a long time ago, but not that long time ago. I do think I shifted to take the seeing a team for the third time element, the division opponent element out of it. I think, even though I think the Packers are a better team, Jaden Daniels gives me a little bit more of a scare. So I think I'd rather play the Packers than the Commanders is where I settled in.
Yeah, I think that, look, either way, you're going to be playing a good team that can beat you. But I do think that me personally, I feel like the better matchup for the Eagles would be Washington. The last time the Eagles played a team for the third time, they mollywopped them, the Giants in that 2022
could use
game.
Some mollywop.
Yeah, you could definitely use one of those, going into the rest of the postseason. But I think at the end of the day, the Eagles, either way, you're going to be facing a good team with a good quarterback here in Week 1.
Yeah, and unfortunately for the Eagles this year, the NFC does feel loaded because these two teams that you're going to play in round 1, these aren't cupcake games. These are 12-win type of teams, and the NFC top to bottom this year is pretty impressive. Pick your poison, because you're going to probably get a really good team in the second round if you do advance. The Rams, the Vikings, they're all viable, teams with some scary, tendencies and strengths that they have.
Yeah, I mean, just think about the teams that are playing tonight. It's Minnesota versus Detroit. You win, you're the 1 seed, you got home field advantage, you got the bye. If you lose that game, you are the 5 seed. You're never going to host a playoff game, and you're going on the road for the rest of the postseason. I mean, the stakes could not be higher. But I think, again, that speaks to the strength, not just of that division in the NFC North, but just the NFC in general. It's a really strong field in that conference.
It absolutely is. And one thing we can take off the pregame show list and the panic meter for next week, Jalen Hurts did participate in Eagles walkthrough on Saturday.
Okay.
So he is expected to be back. So everybody take a deep breath there. It did seem a little weird, but I think just because this week not meaning anything for him, why not just take your time?
Yeah, and so, I don't know what the extent was that he was able to do any kind of mental prep in terms of meetings and all of that participation standpoint. But the fact that he was able to get on the field on Saturday now means as long as all things are clear, he will be good to go once they get to the field on Tuesday.
I just chuckled in the chat there because the professor is in the chat and he said, "There is nobody here." 22 minutes before kickoff, and we'll see. I believe Zack Burman may be with us. Maybe we'll get a look out onto the field. I would imagine today is a rather inactive day in the stands. A lot of free tickets handed out, a lot of neighbors getting tickets, a lot of kids probably going to a game they might not otherwise go to, type of thing.
This was a game where, working for the team, you better have sold those tickets like a month ago for this game, knowing that this was kind of coming. You don't want to save that just in case. You hopefully got rid of those tickets a while ago, because otherwise you were giving those things away by the time you got to this week.
It feels like the old Hatfield dog packages with like Phillies tickets in it. It's like, anybody want week 18 tickets? All right, well, let's bring him in. He is down at Lincoln Financial Field. The man, the myth, the legend, Zack Burman. What's up, Zach?
Hey, good to see you guys.
You as well. And the professor was just in the chat, Zach, saying that there is nobody here. Vibes a little unlively down there today?
Yeah, that's fair to say. This was like preseason game traffic, if you will. It was easy to get in. The parking lots, you didn't have your typical tailgating. Now, I'm speculating here, has less to do with the gravity of the game and more to do with how cold it is outside. You mentioned that this is a good game to bring kids to. I imagine for the kids, it's exciting. For the fathers and grandfathers and mothers and grandmothers, whatever it may be, it is bone chilling out there, right? It's something about these week 18 games without playoff implications that are always, the coldest. Or you think week 17, that 2017 season, they played that New Year's Day game against the Cowboys. I think it was a 6-0 game, and that was as cold as the home game's been. So yeah, if you're looking for the, I'm not a big vibes guy as it is, but if you want me to give you the pregame vibes, it's relatively muted. It's certainly not like the Lions Vikings game we were just talking about.
Yeah, Zach, you're all vibes, man. Don't sell yourself short. All right, so the inactive list today looks like a Pro Bowl roster, Zach. Jalen Hurts, Darius Slay, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Nakobe Dean, Saquon Barkley, Zach Bond, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Jalen Carter. A lot of those guys are active, meaning like Josh Sweat, Dallas Goedert, C.J. G.J., Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. Your interpretation of what we're going to see today, I would imagine we only see starters play if so-and-so gets hurt or they're forced into action. What do you make of active versus inactives and what we're going to see today?
Yeah, not necessarily. So pregame warmups, I was a bit surprised by some of the starters who were out there. Dallas Goedert being one of them. Dallas Goedert was with the first team offense in 7-on-7, with the first team offense in 11-on-11 warmups. So maybe they wanted to shake some rust off of Dallas Goedert. Jordan Davis was out there with the first team defense. So was Milton Williams. So that also surprised me a bit too. Maybe those are guys that they want to get a few snaps for going into the playoffs as well. You are right. I mean, a lot of the headliners who are in uniform, whether it's Josh Sweat, Cam Jurgens, I don't expect to see those guys on the field. But I was a bit surprised I saw Goedert out there during pregame warmups, and I don't, typically pregame warmups are a good indication of what it's going to look like at the start of the game. So it certainly looks like they're trying to get Goedert a few snaps today.
That said, Zach, who are some of the young players, maybe we'll just start on the offensive side, that you've got your eye on? Who are you expecting to see most of here in this game?
Yeah, so this is like, if you're a nerd for the roster like I am, this is the fun game to monitor, because we've been talking about these guys for a long time. Obviously Tanner McKee, but Jahan Dotson, Jahan Dotson is a third receiver here, but hasn't been productive. If you can get him some momentum going into the playoffs, this is a chance for him to get some yards. Will Shipley at running back. Now, Kenny Gainwell was out there with the first team, but I would expect to see a lot more of Shipley. Shipley was someone who I was intrigued by coming out of Clemson. And then, some of the backup offensive lineman, Darian Kennard's a player who behind the scenes have heard good things about. So I think some people were surprised that he made the 53. I wasn't, based on what I heard this summer of how he looked. I want to see Steen. I think all snaps are meaningful for Tyler Steen at this point, and the Eagles are going to have a decision to make after the season with Mekhi Becton. So those are a few names on the offensive side. On the defensive side, obviously Sidney Brown. Sidney Brown's someone who we really haven't seen much of in a defensive role this year, and I thought going into the year he would be in the team's plans. So I want to see some Sidney Brown. Kelee Ringo getting some snaps on the outside. Kelee hasn't played as much defense this year as he did a year ago. I would say at linebacker, obviously Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is someone who I'm intrigued with, and Eagles have been pretty healthy at linebacker this year. He's the fourth guy. He hasn't been the third guy. Oren Burks has been the next one up, but I want to see Trotter get some snaps. And then on that defensive front, Bryce Huff. Bryce Huff was supposed to be a headliner for the Eagles. Obviously hasn't been. Vic Fangio said he was rusty last week. I would expect them to play Bryce Huff quite a bit today, just so they can get a good look at him going into the postseason.
Zach, it's going to be an interesting one outside of Philadelphia today, as Trey Lance is getting the start for the Dallas Cowboys versus the Washington Commanders. If the Washington Commanders win, they are the 6th seed, and the Eagles will host the Packers next week. Have you made an official which team you'd rather see? I'm sure you have. I just may have missed it. Yeah. Would you rather see the Commanders or the Packers coming to Philadelphia next week?
Absolutely, Washington. Really? I think Green Bay. I think Green Bay is dangerous. I think Green Bay is a legit Super Bowl contender. I understand Washington's playing well. Washington's beaten the Eagles, so there might be some confidence there. I think Green Bay is the better football team, and especially, I think they're better suited for the postseason. Look, they've won big postseason games on the road before. I know Washington hasn't had the opportunity to do that. This is a new Washington regime. But if you just look at the matchups, I like the way the Eagles match up against Washington. I don't put as much into that game 2 weeks ago. Like Jalen went down early on. Washington was trying a few different things that obviously they took advantage of the Eagles in the second half of that game. I think the Eagles are clearly better than Washington. I think Green Bay is a much tougher team. And I know the odds are highly in favor of this being a game against Green Bay than a game against Washington. I think Eagles fans should be rooting for Dallas today, and hoping Green Bay wins, because I would rather see Washington in the opening round than the Packers. Do you disagree?
The only reason I slightly do is because Jaden Daniels scares me. I think he's the scarier of the two opponents. I agree with you. The Packers are the better team, but losing Zaire last week and he's out. Jordan Love, I feel like, is still prone to mistakes and turnovers. I've been real conflicted on it. I've gone back and forth all week on it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. Look, I can't take anything away from Jaden Daniels. He's been awesome this year. What Jordan Love did against Dallas,
aspect of it too. Yeah. I just would rather face somebody that you don't see a third time.
What you saw from Jordan Love last year against Dallas in the postseason, what you saw from Jordan Love last year against San Francisco in the postseason, that's a guy who I wouldn't want to see in the month of January. Because when I've seen you do that in a big playoff game before, I know you can do that in a big playoff game, and that would concern me if I were an Eagles fan.
Yeah. To me, when I look at Green Bay as well, I mean, look, this is a team that's certainly battle tested. They played in the best division in football this year. Now they don't have that big win. You know, they haven't beaten any of these elite teams they've gone up against, but this is still a team that finished in the top 5 in DVOA, both on offense and defense, as Professor Daniz pointed out on the show on Friday. So this is a team certainly that has some teeth that I think can give you concerns on both sides of the ball.
I think they're beating either team. It's just, I guess, personal preferences.
Yeah.
Also, this little fact that Professor Selman brought up on the show Friday, I think shows the strength of Green Bay. Their only losses this season have come against Detroit, Minnesota, and Philadelphia. Right? You're talking about 3 teams that might be 14-win teams if the Eagles win today.
Yeah.
Like 14, the only teams you've lost to all year are 14-win teams. That jumps out to me.
Yeah, the professor's in the chat saying he agrees with me that Daniels is scarier, but Green Bay's the better team. Completely agree. It's kind of like a coin flip matchup. Zach, what else are you going to be looking at for today? I know you walked through some of the backups. Do we see, I don't know, is there a wild card appearance from somebody you're excited about? Anybody else that you're going to be paying attention to closely today?
No, it's more if you're looking long-term in the NFC East. This is a significant game in the sense that it's bad for the Giants if they win this game.
Yeah.
And, if the Giants are keeping Brian Daboll, then I got to imagine Brian Daboll doesn't want to win this game. And look, if you just take this field, back in the 2020 season finale when the Eagles tanked it, if you will, that was the difference that year between the 6 and the 9 pick. And there was obviously a lot that went on thereafter, but the Eagles were able to use that 6 pick and make multiple trades over a 3-year period that netted them elite players, right? They end up with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and Jalen Carter, and not all from that trade, but the optionality from getting the 6th pick was huge because you're able to make that pick with Miami. You're able to have multiple picks. And I bring that up because if you're the Giants right now and you win this game,
it's a disaster.
10, right? And so from the Eagles' perspective, you just talked about Jaden Daniels. If the best path for a Giants turnaround is getting a quarterback to build around, I'll defer to Fran. I don't love this quarterback draft class this year.
Oh, it's weak.
But you never know. And if your chance of getting a potential franchise quarterback goes down significantly, going from drafting maybe 4th to 9th or 10th, right? Then it changes the complexion of the NFC East. So I'm curious to see how the Giants navigate this game. If this is something where, Brian Daboll thinks he needs to win it for his job security, you end the game or you end the season with 2 consecutive wins. There's some momentum you can argue there for him. I think from the Eagles' perspective, look, I think Nick Sirianni would love to be a 14-game winner twice.
Sure.
I know, like, from a roster building perspective, you can say it hurts the Giants. If the Giants win, it hurts them. But I think for Nick's resume, he would love to say that the 2 best seasons in franchise history were the seasons he coached. I think the Eagles are going to be the more motivated team today. I think the Giants will probably have more talent on the field, but I think the Eagles will be the more motivated team out there.
All right, Zach. So why don't you leave us with your prediction for a backup bowl for the Eagles today?
Yeah. So I got to tell you that I take pride in my analysis. I don't know how to forecast this game here. There's both tangibly and intangibly. There's so many variables I just don't know. But I see the Bet365 logo behind Fran's head. The odds makers know what they're doing, and they have the Eagles as 3-point favorites for a reason, right? So I'm not going to argue with. I always say argue with Vegas, but I actually don't think they're necessarily in Vegas anymore. Wherever the Bet365 the odd makers are, this is a 3-point spread. This is a 36-point over/under. So I'm gonna play right on those lines. I see Fran shaking his head at me. I'm going Eagles 19, Giants 17. So the Eagles win but don't cover, and it hits the over/under exactly.
Wow, there you go. That's great analysis. Great handicapping from Zack Burman. Zach, we will talk to you on the post-game show.
Look forward to it. Thanks, guys.
See you, Zach.
And by the way, Jake Glazer apparently just said on TV that Dallas Goedert wants to knock some rust off.
There we go.
which is why he'll be playing some today.
There you go.
What do you think about that decision?
I think that makes sense. See, I think when you're a player that has missed the amount of time that Goedert did miss this year, it's not just the last 4 games, but
it's a lot.
Also he had that was his second IR stint, so he's missed half the season due to injury this year. So being able to kind of knock some of that off, both as a blocker and as a receiver. Probably a prudent decision there on his part.
Yeah, and it's why I'll be paying a lot of attention to your tight end analysis this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, look, we'll see. I mean, look, he's at that age now where the Eagles in the past, I mean, he's the same age that Zach Ertz was when the Eagles drafted Goedert, the same age Selleck was when they drafted Ertz. And so I think you're at that point in a pretty strong tight end draft where they could try to address that position by the time you get to day 2.
All right, let's take a quick second and tell you about some friends of ours at PHLY. And that is our friends over at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. If you want to get your child, learning early about financial literacy and savings and all of that great stuff, not only is it great to have a local credit union in your corner, whether it be a HELOC you're taking out, just some savings goals, a college tuition goal, whatever it may be, now they can help your kids with the Greenlight app. It is awesome. You control it from the app right there on your phone, and your child will get their own debit card. They can set up savings goals, get an allowance, use the card out in public feeling like a really cool big kid, and you get to control it all right there from your phone. It's like coaching your kid through their very own financial game, and TrueMark members get it for free. It's a new year, so teach your kids the right way. Get signed up today. Visit TrueMark.com/greenlight for more information. And of course, if you're looking for that special piece of jewelry or an engagement ring, then you got to go see our friends over at Golden Nugget Jewelers at the corner of 8th and Chestnut, downtown, right there by Jewelers Row. Golden Nugget Jewelers has been family owned and operated since 1987, and it's the place to be, especially if you're getting engaged. But they have a wide assortment of jewelry and diamond necklaces, watches, earrings, and all of that. So it's a great gift, whether it's for a birthday, Valentine's Day coming up. Get yourself to Golden Nugget Jewelers. You deserve an expert and the best price, and Golden Nugget Jewelers gives you both. It's where Philly gets engaged. Head over to GoldenNuggetJewelers.com to learn more. And while Saquon Fran might not have a shot at the NFL all-time record, he does have some cool merch out now.
Yeah.
He was rocking his own shirt on the field today, and we here at PHLY have the Barkley with the 2K right there in the middle on allphly.com, as well as the Bring the Trophy Back Eagle with the arms out. So some cool new stuff you can check out on the merch shop on allphly.com. What Zach said there at the end, it is damn near impossible to handicap or make sense of this game. Are we seeing four full quarters of Tanner McKee here? Is that?
Yeah, I would think so.
I mean, Kenny Pickett's the backup and Ian's the emergency, so we're getting all Mormon missile all the time.
I would think that this is going to be mostly Tanner McKee, if not all Tanner McKee in this game, just with Pickett coming off the injury. I'm going to be honest, though, man. Like, I think the Eagles win this going away. I don't think the Giants have. I don't think that the Giants make it even as close as Zach pointed out there. I do think the Eagles cover this. I think that there's just, even with most of these starters sitting, I do think that the Eagles have more talent than the Giants are going to be offering in this game.
So the Giants absolutely want to lose this. I still can't believe they won last week. That was very funny. Are we going to see Tommy Cutlets in the second half? Like, how do you think they handle this? Drew Lock obviously getting the start. When you go to Bet365, you can't even find Eagles players props outside of touchdowns because they don't know who's playing. Do you think this is Drew Lock for 4 quarters, or do you think we get a little Cutlets in there?
I mean, look, I will see if they decide that they're going to put Cutlets in, but at the end of the day, we saw on TV this summer how things can play out for a team. If you might say, hey, you get to this point and it's like, oh, it's a couple draft slots. Who cares? It's more important for them to get wins. They were left out of the cold in the quarterback market in the draft because they were 2 spots out. You know, and so look, this year's quarterback class is not like last year's. There's not going to be that same heated desire to be able to move up for a lot of teams like there was a year ago. That said, for a team that is certainly going to be in that quarterback market, you want to have the optionality to be as high as possible in the draft. And for a team that would have loved to make that move for Drake May or for Jaden Daniels last spring, they don't want to be on the outside looking in here when they get to April.
All right, let's go to Bo and I's final regular season best bet segment. of the game, presented by Bet365. Find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use promo code PHLY365 when you sign up. Now, there are a lot of player incentives around the NFL today. I put in a huge plus 3,200 parlay based on like Mike Evans and Geno Smith and J.K. Dobbins and all these guys that have a lot of money on the line. This game, probably not going to touch. There's not many player props available for the Eagles offensively in this one because you just don't really know how to calculate this stuff. Even Bet365 is like, yeah, we'll give you some touchdown odds here, but we don't really know about these over-unders. So I'm going to go with Will Shipley to get a first touchdown, plus 900. I originally had Kenny Gainwell in there at plus 500, which I think is the smarter bet. But Shipley, it just felt like one of those emotional intelligence. Let's get the rookie a touchdown in a meaningless game. Kenny Gainwell scored before. So that's me trying to tap into Sirianni's mind a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm going with plus 900 for the first touchdown. And then I think Bo's boy, Grant Calcaterra, I'll take it plus 900 for the anytime touchdown.
He's going against you with the E.J. Jenkins anytime touchdown.
Ooh.
So a lot of focus right now on these tight ends between Dallas Goedert, and then we have Calcaterra and E.J. Jenkins here on the best bet segment.
Yeah. Bo, EJ, anytime at plus 550 there. It's not, I got to say, I think the Calcaterra is better value there. Plus 900 compared to plus 550. Both would be nice to hit. And then Bo's going with Tyrone Tracy, longest run over 12.5 yards, laying minus 120 to do so. So there you have it.
I will say that if Grant Calcaterra does score, you have to just needle Bo with the Calcaterra prop hitting for you.
I don't want to use the coward word here with Bo, but he's really abandoned Grant Calcaterra.
Oh, he left him for dead.
Yeah,
no question.
Man.
Left him for dead.
That is rough. All right, let's get out of here because we have a Week 18 game to get to. Prediction, I'm somewhere similar to Zach. I think this is going to be like a 20-14 Eagles win. I do think they cover, but it's just there's so many variables up in the air here. What do you got?
Eagles 27-13. I think it doesn't feel as close as that.
Okay. There you have it, folks. Week 18. Fran and I will be live here at halftime giving our reactions to the Mormon Missile, and then the full crew with Bo and Vinny and Zach joining us from the stadium for post-game on the final regular season game of the year. Man, season flew
Goes
by.
fast.
Yeah, thanks to everybody that hung out with us. Why don't you do me a favor, hit that thumbs up, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We love you. Go Birds. See you at halftime.
We all silly like the mayor.